So I wanted to start this podcast by first and foremost saying that for those people that are listening to the subscribers out there that haven't gotten a podcast from us, from me, from Brute in quite some time, I think this podcast will answer the MIA nature of the last several months, and I'm excited to talk about this. I think that ultimately my personality, Renato, and you can feel free to chime in here, is my personality is like, if I can't do something 110%, I just don't do it. I'll say it this way. If it's worth doing, it's worth doing well, in my opinion. And when I realize that I can't do something well, it bothers me. I don't know if you're that way.
Yeah, yeah. Very much similar. I guess it just depends, but right, yeah, like you either what is it? The It's probably a show. Is it Ron Swanson might have said just whole ass one thing and don't half ass everything or something
Yes.
of that nature, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
So when I reached out to you many, many months ago, probably 6-ish months ago, I was
Yeah, what is it?
scrolling through my Instagram, and you had put me on a close friends on something that you had posted there, and it was basically a countdown to you leaving your job. And and I'll let you tell people like what you did and all that good stuff. But I I found this like really courageous in one way, and then comma in the other way, I found it as, well, I know that you have a kid, I know you have a family, and I know that you're not just going to leave that job if you don't feel very confident in your soul
Hmm.
that you can support those members of your tribe, of your family, right? And so I was like, man, this is interesting. At the time, I was in the process of doing the same, and there is a lot of, in my opinion and from my experience, there's a lot of crap out there on Instagram and social media in general that's like, just do it, just make the leap, just do the thing. And it's like,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
not that black and white. It's like, it's actually 53 shades of gray. And so where I would like to start this podcast is maybe with what you were doing, number one, during that time, and then kind of take me through what you ended up going to and through during that process, and I'll chime in, here and there.
So this year, January 1st was the time where I made it where I was going to just do content creation full time, right?
Yeah.
Um, and the way I got that way, and before that, um, I only I worked for an insurance agency.
Mm.
So when I was working for that insurance agency, any time that I really had a day off was the time that I did content creation. Or so my days were only of four variations. There was, if I went to work, I worked either 1 to 9 p.m. or I worked 9 to 6. Now the reason why it was like that is because the office was inside a car dealership, so you kind of worked their hours. So
Interesting.
the one variation of me working was if I have a shoot in the morning and then right after that shoot I go to work at 1,
Mm.
right? And then get home at 9, miss my son's bedtime, don't have dinner with him, do anything like that. Or the other variation is work 9 to 6, then I'll pick him up from school, go to the gym, keep him strapped on the stroller, feed him something, work out for 20 minutes, then literally run out of the gym, go home, and by the time I get home, it's 20 minutes from his bedtime, and then he goes to sleep, and then I'm back home.
Mm.
Um, Let me see what else. Or if I have a complete day off during the week, I'm most likely shooting because that's what I do with my free time. And the other variation was if I ever had like a full day off on a weekend, like
Mm.
that just became like family day, right? So that was like my life for a really, really long time.
Mm.
And it only got worse as my son kind of got older. And I want to say it was like around October time. It was a weekend because that job was also open on the weekend. So I almost never had a weekend off
Mm.
unless I requested it.
Mm.
So I think it's like a random Saturday. I'm dressed for work, ready to go out the door. And then my son comes running, hugs my leg, and he says, "Daddy, please don't go to work."
Mm.
Dude,
Jeez.
let me tell you, that was probably like the most depressing drive to my job I've
Wow.
ever had. And like his eyes are like all welling, about to cry, and like, hey, honey, I'll be right back. Like, I'll be back. So, and then after that, I think that was really like the final straw. I was already kind of fed up with being there all the time and working my butt to death for, you know, minimal stuff, right? Like at that point in time, like there were gigs that I was doing that would take me a half day that I was getting paid there 2 weeks. So like why I stayed there so long, I don't know. I think it was, I was so hung up on like, oh, what do I do with like health insurance and all this other logistical stuff that I wasn't really thinking about. Um, and then at that point, I think it was like a couple days after, like I told my wife, I was like, hey, I'm gonna be done. I'm gonna tell them like in a couple days that I'm gonna be done December 1st. If they want to or sorry, December 31st. If they want to let me go beforehand, that's totally fine. I'm already prepared for it. But
Mm.
that'll be my last day. So, but everything was obviously calculated, right? Like, once I kind of figured out, like, I have my Excel list, like how much I'm making, what am I doing? So I realized that I was making 2.5 times as much as I was making at that job
Mm.
doing photography, technically one-fourth the time. So then I'm like,
Wow.
okay, what if I actually put like even half the time or like three-fourths the time towards this? Like, I should have no problem. And, I have clients that consistently use me. I have personal clients that consistently use me. Like, I have brand work. I have personal clients. I work with an agency now, like that, just to edit their stuff because they work for some doctors and some lawyers. So like sometimes I just edit their stuff and I make money that way. I don't even have to shoot content for them. They hire me from time to time to like shoot actual content, but there's sometimes I'm just editing stuff, and that's just money streams. I mean, you see my Instagram, like I only
Mm.
post fitness stuff, but I do a lot more different things than that. And it was just all calculated. I think by the end of March, I've already surpassed what I made there in a year. And then that was like it just was mind blowing when I actually like looked at it in my, because I have an Excel list of like anything that goes in and out, and I couldn't ask for a better possible outcome. At least for it hasn't been even 6 months yet, or it has been 6 months, so a full 6 months. I can't
Mm.
really complain. I've only worked maybe like 5 weekends in 6 months, like, and not even whole weekends. That's like maybe a couple whole weekends and then like a random Saturday or Sunday here and there. And I'm pretty much in the best possible scenario that I can be in, I think.
You know what's interesting to me is that as human beings, we will work ourselves to the absolute max, grind our nose against
Hmm.
the grindstone for someone else. But when it comes to, for most of us, making a jump to do it for ourselves, and look, I'm not saying this as if everyone should be in business for themselves.
Yeah.
I don't
Hmm.
believe that, actually. I'm speaking to the psychology of human beings. Let me be very clear, because I don't want this to be taken out of context. But we will work ourselves to the grindstone for someone else, but when it comes to doing it for ourselves, it's like, oh, well, that's where I have to draw the line. Well, that's where I can't
Yeah.
commit to that. And I'm like, yo, you're doing this. You're doing this already, right? It's just
Yeah.
now you're taking the same effort and you're putting it towards something that's the investment into the, the me. That like I'm not.
Yeah.
So that to me is a really interesting thing. But I want to go back to the morning that you outlined where you said that your son looked at you and was like, "Daddy, please don't go to work." I mean, I can't. I don't have
Yeah.
kids. I can't imagine what that would be like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even have a dog. I don't have a goldfish, so I feel like I'd kill it. So, um, anyways, and that's a different story. But like at that point in time, had you already been thinking about, oh, I'm going to step away from this thing being the quote unquote 9 to 5, or is it something that like that was like the catalyst of those things?
Well, so I was on Carlos's podcast like a year ago, and I think I remember at that time I was like just doing both, and I think I even told him I don't think I could ever do content creation full time. I think I remember saying that. And
Why?
that was because, well, that was because I was so like doing things every single day that all I was thinking is what if I was doing content creation every single day, when in reality you're not actually doing content creation every single day. You're
Yeah.
shooting a couple days a week, and then you either take a day off to edit, or you do other things, or you work on other projects, or you're sending emails, or maybe you just want to be a potato in bed today. I was just thinking like I don't stop in general. So like imagine doing content creation every single day. Like that's what I was used to, like nonstop. And then I was
Yeah.
just thinking like, well, if I did content creation every single day, I would hate it. Why would I want to do that?
Right.
But then, like I said, I looked at the numbers and I was like, I'm not even doing this every single day. Imagine if I kept it the same way and
Mm.
all the extra days I just had off or whatever. Okay, let's see how this works out. And I think
Yeah.
even told my wife, I was like, even if this only works out for a year or 2 years or 3 years, and then I could always find another job. I could
Mm.
always find another 9 to 5. Like there's millions of those. You just have to grind and find it, right? Um, you're never really given the opportunity to do your own thing how you want
Mm.
it and how you need it. So,
Mm.
and especially at a time where like I feel like right now is like a pivotal moment in like my son's life. He's 3.5 now, so
Mm.
like that is like core memory type stuff. You know what I mean?
Totally.
So I mean he's a little fucker now. Now like he's gotten so used to me being home that like he'll come home. Like my wife will pick him up from school. He'll come home and like I'll have like dinner for him, and he's like, "Daddy, what'd you make for me?" Like he won't even say hi, right? Like that's he's gotten so accustomed to me now being home, right? So,
Oh, that's great.
um, but it's great. Like I said, I can't ask for anything better, to be honest.
Man, that's. I think that's such like an incredible thing. I'm curious, what was that conversation like with your wife when? I'm sure you remembered. I would feel it would be pretty pivotal to say, "Hey, honey, I am going to quit this thing that has supported us, that has provided our health insurance, that has given us this level of stability, lifestyle, etc. And now I'm going to
Yeah.
do this." Or was it just like, "Hey, here's the hard numbers, here's the spreadsheets, like, look at this shit. Daddy's
I
making the
I
cash."
want to say like well, I told her, and she was so happy, right? Like,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I feel like she didn't believe that I was going to do it because
Interesting.
like I've been so ingrained in like just nonstop work all the
Mm.
time that I mean, and again, I don't tell her how much I make or anything like that. Like she just knows that I go out, I shoot, and I come back home and I pay the bills or I get everything done.
And yeah,
Or
that's fine. Yeah.
yeah, and that's fine, right? Like sometimes I'll tell her, "Oh, I made this much in this gig." She's like, "Holy shit!" You know what I mean? And excitement and all that stuff. But at that time, I think it was one of those things where it's like I think she just needed to see it to believe it, like when it
Mm.
actually happened. And then when I told my job, like, "Hey, look, my last day is this," and then like kind of the countdown started, and you know, me, myself, and her were kind of hoping that I was getting let go sooner, but they just kept me till the end, unfortunately. But whatever, like it is what it is. But um, what this lifestyle is kind of what she's always wanted me to have is be home every weekend or nearly every weekend, right? I
Mm.
mean, even on the days where I did have a random Saturday off, back when I had that job, it was, hey, let's catch up and do like house chores or do stuff. It was never like, hey, let's just go on a trip or whatever.
Mm.
Like it always became like stuff that I would have typically helped around the house, like taking care of Logan. So let's say if she wants to go get her nails done, whatever. Right? Like she didn't always have that opportunity because guess what? I was at work and she can't just take my son to the spa. You know
Mm.
what I mean? So like all those little things just added up, added
Mm.
up, added up. And it's funny, right? Because I want to say like month two, like February of this
Mm.
year, um, I started doing this, and I think it was like a Tuesday, a random Tuesday, and my wife goes, "Hey, this weekend, do you have anything going on, or do you have any gigs lined up?" And I said, "No, I don't. I'm looking at my calendar now. What's up?" She goes, "Do you want to go to my parents for the weekend?" And like I'm telling you, like I got emotional because I've never been able to just last minute go anywhere ever,
Mm,
right? Like
mm,
at my other job, I always had to like request days off like a month in advance.
Jesus.
So if I didn't have that, if I didn't like already request it, like I wasn't going anywhere. So I was like, yeah, yeah, I'm actually free. I can, yeah, let's go. And like I said, I got emotional. I was like, I couldn't believe it.
Mm,
Like, this is what it's like to actually have some sort of freedom to just be like, yes, I can go. Yeah, let's go. Whatever, fuck it. You know what I mean? I think I was at that job for like 6 years. Never in that entire time of being there have I ever been able to do that.
mm. So we obviously met each other through CrossFit, and for those people that are listening and are like content creation, like what is that? I mean, he kind of outlined that he does photo and video work, and obviously some editing and other type of creative projects for these brands. But
Hmm.
as you outlined, it's not just fitness that you do. But granted, that's where we met in the CrossFit space, and
Yeah,
through Brute and through a lot of the mutual friends that we have, and to me, there, and you know this because we're in the same room with people. You can just tell like who the professionals are. You know what I'm saying? By I think the way that they
yeah,
handle themselves, and that's something that I think from day one when I met you, it was very clear. This should tell you all you need to know. I thought you were doing it full time. It wasn't until you go, dude, I've been doing this other thing that I even
yeah,
right that I even knew that. Because I mean, you're
yeah.
working with some of the bigger brands in the space, certainly the bigger athletes in the space, like big time. So I'm just thinking, he probably does well doing this, but lo and behold, you're you know you're working the 9 to 5, right? I know it wasn't exactly those hours, but the
Hmm.
idea. And I I
Yeah, the
think
structure.
yeah, right. And I think for so many, including myself, it's like if you grow up and you go to school, and all of us do that, right? Here, at least in the United
Hmm.
States of America.
Yeah,
I'm,
yeah,
I'm pretty sure you can't opt out of that process, at least to a certain point.
yeah,
Um, right? It's like you're in this system of, hey, these are the things that you do, and this is how you become successful. Not to say that's
yeah.
wrong, not to say that's bad, not to say I think we should change that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm merely saying this is the way that they are, and they have a certain cadence and structure to them. But my question is, at what point do any of us stop and go, well, why is that? Or is that for me? Or how do I best fit into this cubicle box that is this? Like, and my argument is this. It's like my pivotal moment when I go, hey, I'm working this job, I think, and mine was a little different. I was in a family business. Like there's a
Yeah.
lot more dynamic than right because of the nature of who it is with.
Yeah, you got like a
And
lot more strings than just me just leaving a job.
yeah, for sure. So I remember very, very specifically the moment, the pivotal moment, if we want to make it weird, the climax, right? In which
Always make it weird.
yeah, when in doubt, you should make it weird because if you can't laugh at yourself, like, come on, people.
That's right.
Yeah. So I remember the moment, right? Ironically, there's not many good things that happen on Instagram, but this was one of them. Is I'm scrolling through, right, and I see this reel, and I've obviously it's got the words on. I don't have the sound on. I mean, I vividly
Hmm.
remember this, and I'm reading the words, and essentially, the quote was this, or the guy was saying this. He was like, the worst thing in life that that one could go through is like not doing the thing, not creating like the happiness for
Hmm.
themselves. It's like I think so many of us in life like go about it as if we're trying to find this like happiness, and the reality is it's like I'm begging the universe to give me something that it doesn't have to give me, rather than creating my own happiness. And I think he goes on to say, like, if you're miserable now in your job, and he specifically said, he said, if you're miserable now in your job and do nothing, then in 5 years from now, it's going to be much worse. Because not only are you still going to be miserable, but you're going to be much older. So now we got a double banger, right? And so I was like, man, that was such a powerful and like palpable, like, you know, in the face, because I was like, man, like, I mean, I don't think I'm old. I don't feel old. I feel great, right? But the point is, it's like, if you want this life for yourself now, what's stopping you from creating it? Is it the fear of failure? Is it the fear of what other people are going to say about you? Is it, right? And maybe it's a combination of those. Maybe it's simply that, like, I don't want to be poor. I don't want to be like, I mean, like we don't want to say that, but like, why not? Why not just say that? And the reality is like, we're also, you know, you included, like, we're in this like fitness industry, right? So like a lot of people look at it as, well, it's the fitness industry. It's like, right? There's a certain stigmatism as well. Whether I want it to or you want it to, it just, it exists, unfortunately. And but I started to look back and I said, kind of to myself, it's like, what's the difference between me doing it now and me waiting 3 or 4 years to whatever, save up, like, and what I came to was like, I'm just afraid. Like, I'm literally just afraid to like do the thing. Like, because it's so easy to go on Instagram and you hear these, I don't know, life coaches, if you will, that are like, these are the 4 steps needed to quit your job today. And I'm like, dude, first of all, when have you ever done this? Show me, like, like, because look, it's one thing to have quote unquote been an entrepreneur all of your life, and like, you just, like, you failed and you rolled it into the next one, and then you succeeded in one, and then you rolled it into the next one and you failed again, right? Like, that's different, and mad respect for those people. It's different in my experience, where you're in this like super stable 9 to 5, you got the health insurance, you got this allowance and that allowance and all these things, and then you go, cut it off. How do I figure that? How do I figure out life without that? Where there is no fallback plan. It's like, this is the only plan. I'm whole assing this one plan. What does that look like? And that was what was scary for me.
Well, yeah, it's funny, right? Like, my boss at my old job told me this like a long time ago, and he said something to the extent of, if you keep on waiting for the right moment, it's just never going to happen.
Wow.
Because you're going to be too busy like waiting for what the right moment is for you.
Wow.
And you're just going to try to find that moment, and you're just never going to get to it. And sometimes you just got to do it. Like, if you just do it and then just find out the result, then you at least did it.
I think that's, you know, it's, of course, it's like easier said than done. And I think that's what, like, I think that's the thing that I have the like most problem with, that I see like on the internet and on YouTube and things of that nature, of people trying to give people advice. It's like, it really takes a lot of consideration. Like, and you already said this, and I think it could be just glossed over as just something that you said, but it's something really important. It's like, hey, I had a spreadsheet and I had all this mapped out and I knew exactly how much I'm making. I knew exactly how much my expenses were. I knew exactly what I was making from photography. Like I knew. And I think that's like the X factor. It's like actually doing the work, doing the homework to like actually be successful, right? And knowing the numbers. It's like, if you don't know your numbers, then how do you know? And the answer is, well, you don't. So I think, you know, obviously that was something that I went through, was just like you. I put everything in an Excel spreadsheet and I was like, cool, this is what I make. This is what, like, for me, it was, you know, being a coach, right? So remote coaching. So I knew, okay, this is what I make. This is, you know, how much I charge per client. This is how many clients I have to get. Pretty simple, like, in and out process, right?
Yeah.
You know, right? And look, it's not like super sexy. And then I just knew, kind of like you, it's like, okay, I'm going to let them know I have this much time, and by that time I'll have this, you know. But that work, the in between, and this is what I think not enough people talk about. So you have the moment where you go, ooh, pinnacle, I'm quitting. Okay. So now you've made a decision. Then fast forward, Then you have the moment that goes, all right, boom, I actually quit. I did the thing. Not enough people, from my experience and from what I've found, talk about those times in the middle. Those, at least from my experience, were the hardest. Those were the times I questioned everything. That's number one. Number two, those were the times that I go, like, I was like going like back and forth. Like once I had made my decision, maybe this wasn't you, and I would love to hear if it wasn't or if it was.
Yeah.
I was going even back and forth after I had said, hey, this is the time I have here left. Please find a replacement, whatever. In that time, that from the time I said that to the time I actually quit, right, there was this like, well, should I do this? Should I not do this? Is this a terrible idea? Am I going to be on the poor on the side of the road? Am I going to pay my, like, even though I had done all the work, there was still that like, am I really capable of this? And like I said, maybe that was like a non-factor for you.
I don't think I had that moment only because, so I picked up a camera again. So backstory, I went to high school, did photography, all that stuff. As soon as I went to college, I put my camera in a closet in my mom's house. I didn't touch it for 9 years. So that was, graduated 2008. September 2017, I went to my mom's house. She's like, hey, look into your closet. You don't live here anymore. See what you need. Take it out. And I found my camera bag, and that's when I started shooting again. So think about it. From 2017 until now, I was building the entire time. Building. So it took me, and it's crazy to think that it's 6 years to build something for me to get to a point to gain confidence of, all right, I just got to do it, And then once I've already set that, so I was more unsure of what's going to happen, like if some clients disappear. Like that was more of my concern of like, all right, if this happens, what's my plan B or what's my plan C or whatever. I was very much of like, hey, I'm fed up with this job. I need to experience what this is like on my own type thing and like be there for my kid and my family, my wife. But like I said, like you said, like a lot of people, unless they asked me, they thought I was doing this full time. I wasn't. The entire time I wasn't until this year. So it was this point in time where I was like, I just, I got to do it. Like I owe it. In my head, it was just, I owe it to my family. I just have to do it. I have to see what this is like. I need to see if I can sustain it. I need to see what happens. And it's crazy, right? The moment that I said, the moment that everyone knew that I'm leaving this other job and doing it full time, all of a sudden they started contacting me. Oh yeah, let's do something. And then it just was like, oh wow, like where the fuck were you at before, right? Like I didn't know you guys wanted to hire me before, and now all of a sudden I make an announcement. Now you guys want to do it. So, but yeah, I only had doubts of, well, what happens if like January 1st, like all of my clients disappear? Like my thought process was, okay, let me just figure out how to find another desk job to try to, I guess, build again. It was never like, oh, let me just go back or let me just not do it. I just became so numb to the fact of like, there's a million other jobs. I can probably find a better one if this doesn't work out.
Interesting. Yeah. So it was, yeah. I mean, it was truly like sink the ships. Like we're fucking on this island.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
yeah. It's we're in it or we're all not in it. So that's like, that was it.
Yeah. Yeah. I would have loved to come on this podcast and they'd been like, yeah, that was me. But the truth, the honest truth is that it wasn't. It was the exact, I'm not gonna say the exact opposite, but there were a lot of moments, right, where I was just like, man, like, am I doing the right things? And I think that's such a subjective thing. It's like, well, what's the right thing? Because a lot like you, the impetus, and I haven't shared this, but like the impetus behind this was, granted, I don't have a kid that I'm losing precious days, right, of their formative years. Yeah. I think that's a little bit different, obviously, but for me, it's like it's doing what I want, where I want, with who I want, If I could sum it up,
Mm-hmm.
that's it. Truthfully.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
and some people would be like, you're a selfish prick. It's like, cool. I think I'm allowed to,
So what?
yeah, right?
So what?
Yeah, right.
At the end of the day, like, you're either going to have a tombstone next to your wife or whoever. You know what I mean? Like, if that's the person that you want to do all your stuff with, right? Like, for me, it was my wife and kid. For you, it's just like, I want to have more time with my wife. I want to go
Yeah,
travel with her,
yeah,
whatever. The only way
sure.
I can do that is if I do this.
Yeah,
Your The reason why you do things is your problem,
yeah,
or your motivation,
yeah,
right? Like,
sure.
same thing with everybody else. If somebody is single and only has a dog and wants to quit their job to spend more time with their dog, or live in an RV and travel the United States in an RV on the dog, that's their problem. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? So whatever your
yeah,
goal is, there should be no one that should be able to tell you anything different.
yeah.
And like I said, if this only lasts a year, great. I had the best year of my life.
Mm,
Oh
wow.
well. But I won't be able to experience it unless I do it.
Yeah. I mean,
It's just it's a mentality. You just gotta just be like this, like a horse. You gotta put the blinders on and just do it. You just do what you want. You gotta be selfish sometimes.
yeah, no, look, I agree with that. And I think like, you know, I made this comment earlier about like happiness, right? And I was like, I don't think you find your happiness. Like I truly believe like you create it. And I think the same thing with like passion, right? Is like people are like the most common thing that I hear younger people say, and I would like to think I'm in the younger people group. Now I'm not cool, but I'm in the younger people group. I want to clarify that.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, like I've got a nose strip on. I'm definitely not cool, right? But
yeah, yeah.
never claimed to be though. So we're all good there. But one of the things that I hear a lot, and it's come out of my mouth too, so I'm not, there's no judgment. It's just being aware,
Mm-hmm.
is this idea that like, I want to do something that, I can find my passion with or whatever. And,
Mm-hmm.
and I just haven't found that to be true. And maybe like I'm some psychopath out there, and that's totally possible. But similar to happiness, I think it's something like you create, and people are like, "Oh, what the fuck do you mean? How do you create passion?" Like from my experience, it's by doing. Like you actually have to do things, and
Yeah.
most of those
Mm-hmm.
things you're going to be terrible at. I can name on this so many things I'm terrible at, like, and I don't think I should do them, and nor ironically am I passionate about it. On the flip, I have found the things that I'm the most passionate about, I'm the best at, right? Like I'm really
Yeah.
good at these very small few things. And
Yeah.
ironically, I'm really passionate about them. I don't think that's a coincidence. And I think
Yeah.
it comes from doing. And so I think there's just a lot of bad advice that gets thrown around about find your passion. It's the best thing you'll ever do. It's like, no, dude, you need to do a bunch of shit. And by doing all of that, you'll find the thing that you actually like and ironically are passionate about and are good at. And as a result, that's the thing you can pour more and more time into. Again, I always preface everything from my opinion, my experience, but I just have not found the other to
Mm-hmm.
be true.
I mean, think of it this way, right? Like you quit the other job, you started this. Maybe you thought initially this was your passion, like doing podcasts and doing coaching, and then one day, you go somewhere with your wife and do whatever, and then something happens there where you're like, I want to do this for the rest of my life. You wouldn't be able to do that unless you were just experiencing things.
Mm,
You find out what you want to do when you experience it. Now, for me, I guess it's just a little bit different. I just needed to have more time to spend with the people that I wanted to be around. And
mm,
the only way to do that was to get rid of the excess. So once I knew that this was sustainable, I knew that I just had to do it. And that was it. Everything fell into place. I'm home every weekend. Like I'm home every night, nearly every night to tuck my kid into bed. Like I know it just sounds dumb, but like that all adds up. Just putting your kid to
mm,
bed, and giving him a kiss goodnight, like, and him saying, "Oh, I love you, Daddy," and you go to your room, right? Like little things like that mean so much. And
mm.
if this whole year is just all about that, like I'm totally fine with it. Like I don't need to go on extravagant trips, man. Like I'm about to be 33. Like, I mean, I've just never been, I've been just very, or at least as of recent, just very like focused on trying to get things done and just trying to spend time with them. And
Mm,
that's just like my 100% motivation is just do as many things as possible, create as many income streams as possible. Like I said, it doesn't have all my stuff is all CrossFit, but I do way more than just CrossFit. So I just don't tell anybody because I don't feel like I have to, right? Like it's my problem.
mm. I, what I sense from this conversation, what I sense from you is just is that you're someone, and man, I can appreciate this, is that someone that just takes a lot of responsibility and someone that like really internalizes, uh, the responsibility that they have for, the people around them. And I can, man, I can really appreciate that because I think it's so easy in life to just point the finger at someone or something or whatever circumstance. And the reality is, I think I've found that as soon as I stop pointing that finger, as cheesy as it sounds, as soon as I stop pointing that finger at someone else and start pointing it at me, like I can actually move forward and do something
Mm-hmm.
because now I can really take responsibility for my life versus the other way. It's, like I don't want to, just skip over the fact that yes, I think, you know, like the fact that, I'm born in America as, as someone that, didn't have to like live under a bridge. Like, yeah, I think I'm luckier
Yeah,
than some. Like, yes, I want
yeah,
to recognize that and not act like, oh, that's nothing, because that's not the way that I am. But at the same time, I've just found that no matter the situation, it's really always turning the finger at yourself and just being like, where can I take responsibility for this to be able to move forward? And I've found that until I do that, there's really nothing I can do.
so everything, so it's almost like you have to, I mean, I think everything's like more mentality based, right?
Mm.
So you can have someone like, for example, I'm very much like a football, right? Like football.
Yeah.
You do a play, they bomb you or they score a touchdown. All right, next play. Like you move on to the next one. You just
Mm.
figure it out. God knows how many times where I had something planned for a gig and all of a sudden it went through. I can't focus on like I can't spend all this time on like, oh, why did this happen? Blah 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 blah. Oh, why did I lose this client or this and that? No, we got to move on to the next one. Things need to get taken care of. Like that's it. Like you move on, they'll most likely come back, or maybe they don't come back at all.
Mm.
That's fine. You deal with it later. Like just focus on what's ahead of you. It's already behind you. Like
Mm.
and again, I know a lot of people can't do that
Mm.
because it's very much like an experience and mentality type thing, right?
Mm.
Some people are just not like that. I know my wife's not like that.
Mm.
She thinks about everything. Oh, like here's a perfect example. So her job, they were trying to create a video for their coworkers, right?
Okay.
And she thought, oh, what if we hire you? And I said, well, yeah, it's fine. Like, just I already have it. But she brought me up an idea, or she told me what they wanted to do, and then I brought up an idea that I thought of to make this video.
Mm.
And she's like, oh yeah, it's a great idea. I'm like, I'm going to talk to them about it. So then she talked to them about it, like, potentially hiring me and this and that. And then later on, I think it was like 2 weeks later, like I get like text messages getting blown up on me. And I'm like, okay, what happened? And she's like, oh, I'm so mad because like they're going to use some other company or something like that. And they're using the idea that I told them that you said. And I was like, yeah, okay. Like, nothing we can do. Like, they do whatever they want. And then she's like, yeah, but don't you think it's messed up? Like, she was so
Mm.
invested on, like, oh, they stole your idea and this and that, or blah, blah. And I was like, I mean, I didn't patent the idea. It's not a big deal. Like, I didn't have the job. It's whatever. Like, it's done. Like, I got to move on to the next one. Like, they either want me or they don't. Now, that just shows you the spectrum of, like, just focusing on what's ahead of you versus, like, holding on to it. If you hold on to it for too long, you're just going to be stuck.
Mm.
And, she was probably upset about it for like the whole day. And like after the phone call, I was like, listen, don't worry about it. It's done. Like I got other stuff to worry about. Like, Just like I said, it's just mentality, man. You just gotta you gotta be selfish. You gotta be, maybe sometimes not caring too much works in your favor. You just
Mm,
gotta care about yourself, care about the people that you want to care about.
mm.
Sometimes you just gotta be that way. You can't care about everybody.
I think one of the hardest things to that like I deal with in my life is like letting things be what they're going to be, right? And I
Hmm.
I think I've been caught in these situations where I'm like, like almost like demanding this from like the world or the universe, or demanding this from my
Yeah.
life, or demanding this from someone else. And it's like, I don't own this. I don't control this. I don't have any
Hmm.
authority over this. And I think one of the biggest things that this particular year of my life has brought, as I'll look back, is really embodying what you just said, like allowing things to just be, like meeting that thing where it is in space and time. And you know, a lot of things in life are pretty objective, like in terms of like, this is it. These are the facts. However,
Hmm.
our interpretation oftentimes, and our perspective, not saying it's wrong, each of us has a unique perspective in that
Hmm.
regard, often brings that subjective nature. I'll give you a great example of this. Kind of a more CrossFit specific example. Usually when we take on a client, we'll have them go through a couple weeks of testing just to you know assess where it is that
See where
they,
they are.
yeah,
Yeah.
really straightforward stuff. Because we're looking at one-to-one programs, right? So we want to make sure that we're doing something specific to the person, and testing is the best way to usually start that process. And we will go through it, and inevitably it could be day one, it could be day 6, but typically it's the latter half of the testing. I'll get a text message from a client, from an athlete, and it'll say, man, I absolutely bombed this lift. Like, it went terrible. It's 20 pounds off my PR. I'm feeling like shit. Like, this is like, I've been so frustrated with this for the past 6 months. And now, like, I really thought I got past, I worked, whatever. And they tell me the number, whatever. It's a 200-pound snatch, whatever. And like I should be able to hit 225. I know I can. It's like, okay. I think one of the worst words in the human language is should. I don't think you should do anything. You don't like.
Yeah. Yeah. You just got to do it.
Yeah, like there's no should. It's just like it is in that regard, or it isn't. And I think that's like the polarizing effect of, or can be the polarizing effect of life. Or another way to think about it, it's like this dichotomy of life. It's like you have the things that like you have to do to stay alive, right? And then you have everything else, right? And there
Yeah.
is no
Yeah.
shoulds. It's
The
just,
fun, the extra.
yeah,
Yeah.
right? It's like these are the things I have to do to stay alive, or at the very least to maintain homeostasis in my life. And there's everything else. So the reason I bring this up is usually a conversation that I take this opportunity with this athlete, and I kind of explain like, hey, the cool things about numbers is that in fact they are pretty binary. Like it's a yes, it's a no. It's you hit the 200 or you didn't. You hit the 225 or you didn't. And that is a really
Hmm.
objective measure. It's not emotional. We can talk and say you hit 200, you did not hit 225. And that's the end of that story. There is no extras.
Yeah.
I said, however, our interpretation and our expectations of the objective numbers create a lot of this subjectivity and a lot of this emotion around it. Now, that's also what makes us human, and I don't think taking that out of the human experience is bad. But this is where we come with expectations of you should do this, or I should get this. And I find that life is simply, I shouldn't say simply, a lot of life is managing those expectations, and also being able to trade up. I was talking to someone this the other day, trade up your problems. It's like, well, I'm just, you hear people say, I'm just trying to get rid of this problem. And the reality is like, okay, well, there's another one right around the corner. And really all we're doing in life is part of the human experience is like trading that problem for
Yeah.
hopefully a better problem. It's still a problem. And, or
Yeah.
challenge, however you want to look at it. But that to me is a really interesting thing, back to what you were saying, you didn't get the gig. You were pretty, I would say, unemotional, unfazed. You were very
Yeah.
objective. It was, hey, I didn't get it. There's plenty of fish in the sea. Try again next time, right?
Hmm.
On the other side of things, it was, her response was, well, but they took your idea, and now they're going with this other company, and shouldn't you be upset about this? And I can understand that perspective. But I often ask myself in that moment this very important question, which is like, does this thing serve me? Does the way I'm acting serve me and what I'm trying to ultimately get to in my life? Most of the time that answer is no.
Yeah. I trust me, I understood my wife's emotion because I was there before. The only thing is like I've experienced it so many times that
Mm.
it just became like, all right, well, oh well, I can't worry about the money that I lost because it was never in my pocket. So like it was never there. So I can't complain about stuff that I didn't have in my hand. So that's what it's become, that I've experienced so many things where, what is that saying? Like, don't count your chickens until you hatch them. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? So
don't
like,
count your chickens before they hatch. Yeah.
yeah. So you know what I mean? It's just been like that sort of things. Especially in now in the space where like there's just so many people that do content creation. In every space,
Mm.
and there's people that do it themselves. Like for themselves. You just gotta find a way. You just make it work, right? Like just like anything else, you just make it work. If Just like you said, if this person said I should be snatching 200 pounds, yeah, I should be making $1 million a year. Okay,
Mm.
how do I get there?
Mm.
How does this person snatch 200 pounds? They work their ass off. They do a
Right.
lifting program. They do
Yeah.
whatever. Okay, same thing. If you want something, like, and if you want it bad, you'll find a way to get it. There's like whatever it is, you'll find a way.
I agree with that. And I would, I often think if I'm not willing to go that extra whatever step or whatever the case is, I often think I actually don't want it that badly as I want to convince
Hmm.
myself that I do. Maybe the reason I'm telling myself this is because I'm trying to satiate some part of my ego or insecurity that I have. And so I'll tell myself that, oh, I really want this because maybe it sounds good, or maybe I can tell you on this podcast that it sounds
Hmm.
good, that I want to snatch this, or
Yeah.
I want to do this, or I want to be this. And it's it's almost like this like posturing game that I play, that we'll play as human beings, because it's like it, at least I think for males it could be like a dick measuring contest. I mean, as crude
Yeah.
as that
Sure.
sounds, I mean, but it's like, oh well, look what I got, and like you see that in every space. It's like, well, I work for this brand. Oh, right? It's like, dude,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's normal.
I
That's so normal. It's just like whatever. It's an ego thing, and yeah, I mean, anyone that says that like, oh, they don't have any ego at all, I mean, it's good to I don't necessarily project it. I just kind of try to, what is it, like in the Michael Jordan documentary, like he made up stuff in his head
oh, that's
that
powerful.
other players would say to him. You know what I mean? So that he could be in a space in his head to just push through. Like I do that a lot,
That's
right?
powerful.
Like just for me to do things. Like even even some things, like you create opportunities for yourself. I think it was sometime like earlier this year. I wasn't even planning to go to Atlanta, right? And I was going to see my buddy Griffin, and I shot with him for Innovate and stuff like that. And in the meantime, I was like, well, while I'm over there, like, let me just spend an extra day. I didn't even book anything yet. And I was like, I'm going to contact a couple other brands, see if they need me, because I'm just going to say, hey, I'm headed to Atlanta between these and these dates. Do you need anything? Oh, great. Yeah. We didn't, it's great to know. Here, let's do it. So then I've now just created more opportunities for something that was nothing.
Mm.
You just create opportunities for yourself. There's so many times where I didn't even book a single flight yet, but I already had something lined up just by asking a question or saying, "Hey, I'm going this place. Hey, do you need anything? Like, I'm going to go see so and so. Do you have any athletes in this area that you want me to hang out with or shoot or whatever?" Like, some people just wait. Like, stop waiting. Like, I've waited. I guess I've created this mentality just from being at that job for too long, because like there I was just waiting. I was just too
Mm,
busy waiting, and now I'm just tired of waiting.
that is powerful, man. That is a powerful thought. I'm tired of waiting.
Yeah, I'm tired of waiting.
Holy shit. Why why is it why is it that you think that people like go however many years of their life and they wait and they don't do the thing that you know, whatever they would be the best at or they could be good at or they could be happy with or like it's just and maybe I'm assuming this. Maybe I'm assuming people would want that. Maybe they don't. I don't know. I just like in my head, if I go, well, I could be here and I could be this level of like excited and happy and like fulfilled and like doing what I want with whom I want, right? Or I could do this and just feel like I'm just punching the ticket every day, so to speak, punching the clock every day. And maybe that they
Hmm.
want that. I don't like why I'm trying to think. I'm asking myself this almost like why would I pick option B? Why would I not just be the happiest I could be?
I think people just don't know how.
Hmm.
Like maybe they are. I mean, just like it took me to look at an Excel list to finally like do it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because the whole time I didn't do that. Like I just was like, oh, whatever, let me just go with my routine. Maybe people like routines and they're so used to the routine that that's all they know, right? Um, like Groundhog Day every day, right? Like it's just maybe something that they like to do. Um, and then, like I said, for me, the main thing was just having to leave on the weekends and my wife and kid just being at home all day and I was at work and they got to do things and stuff. I think, like I said, everyone needs something, an experience to happen to them for them to be like, fuck it.
Yeah. There's this Tony Robbins quote that I often refer to, and he says, "People don't change because the pain or discomfort that they know is more comfortable than the pain or discomfort that they don't know." And
Yeah.
I I think as like if you look at just like from a biological standpoint, it's like as human beings we want to stay alive, right? Like that's like our entire DNA, our entire brain is wired literally to keep us alive, right? Um, and so I often think, I wonder if that is like a more primal thing, right? It's like we just want to do this, punch it, hit the eight, hit whatever, hit the 9 to 5, because we know what we're going to get. It's a very predictable outcome. That's what everyone else does in our tribe. So
Hmm.
it's, human behavior, human learning, right? It's like this is just what you do. You kind of fall in line and you do the things and you support the family and you whatever. Like, I wonder how much of it is just like learned behavior. Like, this is just what we do. And I've said this on this podcast so many times. It's like we question all of our beliefs except the ones we truly believe in, and those we never think to question.
Yep. Yep. And sometimes I think people hold back on doing things because they don't know what's out there. They just don't try it.
Mm,
Right. Like, so I didn't know that I was valuable, or maybe that's not the right word. So when I was initially shooting and Innovate was the person at the time that I would always deal with at Innovate. Her name was Fran, right? And I still talk to her to this day, like, and I'll never be able to thank her enough times. And I've said her name in so many podcasts or whatever. So I think I remember a time where they wanted me to do shoot for them, and then I think at the time I said like, "Oh yeah, I'll go there and shoot this for like a half day for whatever number." And then she's like, "No, no, we're gonna pay you this," and like the number was like twice as much as the number that I initially offered.
Mm.
So I was like, hey, like, you offered me like
Double.
double than what I like. It's usually the other way around, right? And then she's like, no, no, I'm aware. I said, okay, like why? And she goes, because you deserve it, because you do good work and you do this. So that's when I knew. I was like, okay, so like I people actually like value me for something, and
Wow.
that's what I
That's
just kind of, people, respect my work, or they respect me, or they know how hard I work, and they're like, okay, like this person is worth this kind of money, no problem. Like I don't think she felt bad for me. Like she just legit was like, you know what? No, we're just gonna pay you this from now on. I said, okay, cool. Like this is great. And then that kind of became the base for like anybody else or any other clients that all came around. I was like, oh, okay, like this person values me. So if another brand
mm.
wants to like lowball me or something like that, then I know that they don't value me as much. And then I just started focusing on the people that did.
Wow. That is that's an incredible story because I think back in my own life, and I think all of us listening could probably find, if we thought hard enough, find a moment in time or a person that someone gave us a chance. Someone
Yep.
believed in us above and beyond what we believe at that time, at least in ourselves. And
Mm-hmm.
those moments are, I mean, because I can think of mine. It's like those moments are incredibly powerful. I was in college at the time, and I worked for this church plant, and the the guy there, the pastor there, was just a great guy, and you know, he always had time to have the really tough conversations with me. I'm in college. I'm just trying to figure it out. I'm doing dumb shit. But I'm also wanting to try to better myself, and you're like trying to start finding my own way in life and figure out what I want to do, and all those conversations that are just really pertinent at that time in your life when you're like, I have to declare a
Mm-hmm.
major, get a degree, and do this, right? Like, because why? Because someone told me I should do that, so that's why, right?
Yeah.
Which is, I won't go back down that
Yeah.
rabbit hole. I ended up dropping out, and that was the best decision ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why when I have these conversations with people, I'm like way more sensitive to that, because like I did it and I understand what it's like, because you're afraid of like, what's someone going to think that, oh, you're not a hard worker, you dropped out. It's like, no, I had a 4.0 when I dropped out. It's like,
Yeah.
it's not because I'm
Exactly.
not because I'm dumb.
They don't know. No one has to know your
Yeah,
story.
right.
Yeah.
And so it's like, then I felt the need to like want to qualify myself and want to do right, because then you're having to like prove it above and beyond, or you feel that way. At least I felt that
Mm-hmm.
way. And so I remember, him kind of giving me a chance to at the time do photo and video for this church, and man, it was awesome. It was just an incredible experience, and I remember like buying my first camera, and like it was a Lumix GH3, um,
Yeah.
which was like a great starter camera. At least it wasn't Nikon. Um,
Damn, bro. I started off with Nikon.
did you really? Yeah, that's why you
Yeah,
put
that was
that's
like
why
what
you
I
put it in
used. Like,
a closet for 9 years.
yeah, yeah, exactly. No, dude, I was Nikon the whole way until what was it, like 3 years ago? I just went full Sony. I didn't have enough stuff on Nikon to like hold on to it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, I think like as I look back, and I'm so grateful for him him believing in me, and giving me a shot as a college kid, as someone that was young, and with a brand, quite frankly, that he was starting, and he was the face of, and that can be scary when you're giving an 18-year-old kid that opportunity. But it's to your point, it's like, when you have those people believe in you, like you feel like you have to go above and beyond. And I don't know. That's at least what I feel like when someone believes in me. When I know like I probably shouldn't have gotten that chance, it's like I feel like I have to do
Yeah,
like
you try
double,
like way harder than yeah.
right? But
Yeah, I mean, I could easily say that Fran has changed, the trajectory of my life, right? Like,
wow.
because, she gave value in my work, and then it created the base for everything else. And then it was to the point where she's like, "Hey, we want to do stuff with you all year now. Like, let's keep it going." And I said, "Okay, great." And then, she ended up leaving, and everybody that kind of moved in was kind of the same way, like, the exact same thing, that they knew that I was there and stuff like that, and everything was great. So, and then I just used everything. Like I said, you value yourself. You realize,
Mm.
like, oh, if I'm getting treated well here, like, why would I get treated like crap somewhere else?
Hmm.
So, um, and like I said, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be able to have like the type of mentality of having like my base at a certain spot,
Mm.
and then it would just like be able to have me like live however I want. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
you just sometimes need that one person to give you a shot, and even if the shot doesn't last forever, like, it just creates an experience. Like, this whole thing is about experiences,
Mm.
and what has you, like I said, just change your mindset. Like, everything is mindset. That's just my belief, that everything is a mindset. If you want to do it, you do it. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to. Like, if you despise broccoli because you think it's gross, that's your mind. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. Like, it's just basics.
I think the most important part about someone giving you a shot and believing in you is that you'll do the same for someone else one day.
Yeah,
Like that's
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I think like a long time ago, when I was kind of just first starting, like the CrossFit space wasn't as, I guess, crowded, right? When it comes to content creation, it was maybe like a few people. I never really had help. Like, I had a couple people that gave me some pointers here and there, like on what I should do or this and that. But now, like, anybody that reaches out to me, like, I'm not kidding, like, I'll get DMs from God knows where. Like, one time I got some guy from Spain,
Wow.
another message reach out and just questions, and I just help him out. I give him the best advice that I can give or anything, because I didn't have that. So would I have liked it when I was first starting? Yes, but you learn things. You realize sometimes you just got to do it on your own. But I don't want to be that same person. Like,
Mm.
I would rather pay it forward. I always try to pay it forward if I can.
Yeah, man. I feel the same way, and I've done the same thing. If anyone DMs me asking a question, like I want to write a freaking novel, because I really want them to know,
Mm,
like, hey, like I'll answer, like because I know, and you know as well. It's like, if it hadn't been for those people, and I'm not saying that I would have never done well or whatever, and I don't think you think that either, because
hmm
I think like certain people are going to find it one way or the other. But it's at the same time, if it
Yeah.
wasn't for those people, like the the track, the fork in the road may have looked different, and the experiences as a result may have looked
hmm
different. And as I look back on my life, and I'm sure you're the same way, as I look back on my life, it's people are like, what, it's like, if you could go back, what would you change? Like, that's a common question, right? And I hate that question, because I'm like, I genuinely, I can sit here today and I can look you in the eyeballs and I can say I would not have changed anything, truthfully.
Yeah.
I do not wish anything was different, because I realize so deeply how the things in my childhood, how the things as a young adult, how, right, like all of these things have created the person that I am today, and I'm grateful for that. And I would not change it, because I realize that, like, we only get this one experience, and you know, nothing else is guaranteed. And you nailed it earlier. You said this thing is about experiences, and it's about treating people well and having those experiences with the people that you care about, just like you're doing. And that shit inspires me. It's like, I don't need to have Danielle Brandon on the podcast to be fucking inspired. I love DB. She's the fucking bomb, like, and she
Yeah,
does.
yeah. I'm actually going to see her on the 14th. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to see her in a couple or next week.
And,
Yeah.
and like, she does inspire me. She does badass shit that I would never be able to do, and she does.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but but just like she inspires me, right, to doing all that, doing all that, right? Doing her thing. People like yourself inspire me because it takes a lot of guts.
Thanks.
Seriously, it takes a lot of freaking guts to make those decisions, especially when you have people counting on you, not just from an emotional standpoint, but from a financial standpoint, and right, like those are moments in time that really help define our human experience on this planet. And I think it's like people like yourself that, though you may never have, 1 million followers, right? Or 1 million people know your story, like a Tia or somebody like that. I think it's the people that do hear it, though, that are going to be in a similar or, same boat as you, are going to be incredibly inspired by the story. And that's why I wanted to have you on, because I think it's like it's cliche as hell, but like the everyday hero type of thing, that like those are the people that inspire me, like the people that actually fight for their happiness, the people that fight to be fulfilled, the people that fight for the people that they love, right? Like those are the people that I think this community could do a better job of like showing and being more visible, because at the end of the day, like you're going to be a lot more relatable than someone that has 1.6 million followers.
I mean, you've talked to DB on a personal level. Like, she's super chill, right? Like, not many people get to experience that, like just hanging out with her for a day,
for
right?
sure.
Like, she'll have her highs or lows during training, and then you just realize that she's just a normal person, right?
She bleeds just like you and I do,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, she's got way more tattoos. That's about it.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if she has more tattoos than you do. You're pretty tatted, bro.
No, I just have the one arm.
Oh, really?
Like a couple things.
Okay, I didn't know if you had it anywhere else. Okay, it's just the arm, just the sleeve. Okay.
It's mainly just an arm. I think I have one here, and then just a couple things on my head. Yeah, that's about it.
I thought
Nothing crazy. No,
I thought about a sleeve one time, and then I talked myself out of it. But it's very close. Anyhow,
it's like, would I do my other arm? Nah, probably not. I think I'm done. Like, if not, I get something little. But,
yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
This was the worst. Like, if I would rather just have like a blank white slate of nothing than do this ever again.
Just right at that elbow crease. Oh my god.
Yeah, horrible. The worst. The actual elbow was fine. Like, I went to sleep when he did the elbow. That was fine.
But the inside of the elbow is what you're saying, like the bicep, right? The bicep.
Yeah. Right here is the worst. But this was fine. Like, that one was no problem. Jeez. A lot of people have the other way around.
Dude.
What was I gonna say? Yeah, no, like it's and I think we've had this conversation before, right? Like, time is going to keep going, so you have to just make the most of it. Like, my son is only going to get older; he's not going to stay his age. So if I want to experience it, I have to do it now. And like I said, we've had that conversation. Like, you can't stop time, so you might as well just make the most of it while you're here.
Yeah.
Who knows? After this podcast, I can get into my car and get into a car accident, and then I'm gone. Right? Now, imagine I would have been unhappy and then, deceased. Right? Like, at least at this point, I can say, like, I've done something where I've spent the most time, or at least as of now, with my family. That was just kind of like, and it's weird, right? It was actually kind of funny for like the longest time, like from the time that I told my job till like the day that I actually became on my own, I started like getting anxiety. I was like, bro, I swear to God, if something happens to me before I go fucking full time, I'm gonna be pissed, right? Like, just like like if I got hit by a car or whatever, like anything like that. Like, I was literally like thinking about that most of the time, which was kind of funny. I was just like, dude, you got to stop overthinking it. Just do it.
That was amazing, dude. I appreciate your time. I really do.
Thanks for having me on, dude.
I mean, as much as we've talked about time, it would be disrespectful and, well, just quite frankly, irrational for me to not, recognize that, man, you gave me an hour of your time, and I'm deeply grateful for that. So I appreciate you.
No, I appreciate it, man. Like, the same thing, like with you. Thanks for having me on. And, you have my number. You can just call me or text me anytime you need anything.
I know, but for the people listening, we'll put your stuff down below if they want to reach out to you.
Yeah, don't give them my cell phone. I don't want them to call me.
Yeah,
They can text me.
I'm not
I mean, they could DM me.
yeah, I'm not a psychopath. Yeah,
Just
we're gonna put your IG handle.
there we go.
It depends who you talk to.
Yeah. You never know. You always. I feel like we're today's day and age. You kind of just never know, so you just have to say it just in case.
Yeah, man. I mean,
You never know.
that's why I do this podcast, so I can just say it. You know, I can just say all the random shit in my
That's
brain.
right.
And hundreds and hundreds of people listen as a result.
That's right.
Haven't figured that one out yet.
This may be like your lowest viewed podcast. It's possible.
Nah, I'm gonna put some like super clickbait title, like "He died 30 minutes in."
Oh, nice.
You know, some shit like that.
Wow.
Yeah, and then
That's
people are gonna go to the
some
30
killer
minute
would
mark.
do probably.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, I mean, I look. If there's one thing that man can do, he can make some titles, and I recognize that. I appreciate
Clickbait.
him for that. Yeah, I mean, I don't agree with half of them, but you know what?
Yeah.
I appreciate what he's doing. So
Yeah.
there's a skill and an art to that, and all good. So anywho, but yeah, man, have a great rest of your day, and
All right,
thanks
boss.
again.
See you later.